All right, now what about the t value such that the area to the left in the left tail is 0.005 and n is 23? Now remember, recall, degrees of freedom, df, we're so lazy we don't bother writing it, is n minus 1, which is 23 minus 1, which is 22 for this one. Okay, so if we're going to do StatCrunch, which is a good thing to know how to do anyway, because StatCrunch is so easy with stuff like this. So let me open StatCrunch. I'm going to open it in a new tab. All right, go to Stat, Calculators, T. Now the advantage to doing it with StatCrunch, for example, is that it can do it even if it's something that's not in the table. The table only gives you, just so you can see, only gives you these numbers up here, and that's it. That's all you get. So like, what if you wanted to know 0.03 in the right tail? Sucker, you can't do it, not from the table, right? So on the exams, of course, I don't ask anything other than what would be in these tables, you know, for a final exam or something. But on homework, on assignments or other things, you might have to do other ones. That's why it's helpful to know, okay, among other reasons. So let me go back here. So I said it's 22 degrees of freedom, 0.005, right? This was a left tail one because it said it was the left tail, so I left it with that arrow kind of going to the left. Take a snapshot. This is 9.2, example 4b. I'm going to export it. Go over to my other tab, which will have my results. There we go. Copy. And I'll paste it in. Cool. So you can see, all right, so I better label this. This was part A up here. Okay. Now for part B, I'll do it down here. Okay. So according to StatCrunch, it should be negative 2.818756. Okay. Now let's do it with Excel as well, just so we know. Now remember, Excel only takes the left tail probability, which luckily for us on this particular one is the same thing that they gave us. So we're going to type t dot inverse 0.005 comma 22. Let's see if it works. T dot inverse 0.005 comma 22. And again, if I had given you 0.004, then that would work. Hey, look, same one. Look at that, negative 2.818. How does the old T stuff do it? Well, if you have old Excel, you would type 0.01. Well, if you want to do it this way, you could say 2 times 0.005, because remember, it has to do two-tailed probability no matter what. So then you type comma 22. The thing about this is that it'll give you a positive number. So T inverse 2 times 0.005, or if you want 0.01, which is what it is, comma 22. There you go. And it gives it to you positive. So to get the one we were actually looking for, because look at this picture, we're looking for something that's to the left of 0. So to get the right one, you actually have to do negative, right? Oops, I must have typed equals there. There we go. Oh, it doesn't like me. Equals negative, right? I'm going to have to fight this. All right, format cells. Text. Quit being like that. Just do this. There we go. It didn't like that. It wanted to make it into a number. So it just grinding my gears. All right. So it didn't like the negative in front, so I had to force it by formatting the cells as text, but I got there in the end. So if you're stuck with the old Excel, that's kind of what you're stuck doing. Sorry to say. All right, so we still have the right answer, though. It's right here. It's T inverse negative 0.005 comma 22, which gets you negative 2.817 or 8187. So I'll copy and paste that into here. Okay. Oops, lost that negative over there. All right. And then if I go grab this picture, so I'll do that. There we go. Cool. I'm going to make this smaller so I can fit everything in. And then now we've got one more. Oh, wait. I'll go back and show you how to do this in a table. Okay, so in the table, right here, it's the 0.005 column because it said it was 0.005. And then 22 is right down here, 2.819, just like we said. Now the trick is that you got to know, oh wait, the table only does the right tail, right? So if you want the left tail, you've got to know in your head, oh, that's negative. That's why I keep showing you this StatCrunch picture, right? Because when you look at the StatCrunch picture, you go, oh yeah, it's on the left. That's why it always pays to draw a quick picture and kind of shade what they were giving you. They were giving you this little area over here, 0.005. So your answer better be negative, right? This one was saying the area on the right is 0.02, so your answer better be positive. Down here for this one, we're actually going to have two answers because it's a confidence interval, right? Confidence level in the center. So we're going to have one on the right and one on the left. All right, so let's get an image of what that looks like. Oh, let's see. Now it's 95%. Let me go draw a picture. Hold on one sec. All right, poof. There it is like magic. I know. Okay, so the middle is 95% over here. Okay, so that means that how much do you have in each of these tails? Okay, if the middle is 95%, that means that alpha is equal to 0.05, right? And that means alpha over 2 is equal to 0.025. So that's how much is in each tail. Let me make a little note of that. All right, so down here, this little tail right here is 0.025. And this is one that I'm not going to do in StatCrunch because remember, StatCrunch never does these between ones well. That's something I would like StatCrunch to fix, but they haven't fixed it. They don't call me up. They never call, they never write, ask me what I need. So very unfortunate. Okay, so 0.025. Now, I know you don't have Minitab, which is the program I'm using to do this, but you do have hands with pens, and you should be drawing something that looks like this. That was the point of drawing all these in the first place, right? So draw them out for yourself by hand, and do that when you're on your tests and papers and stuff too. I draw pictures all the time for these problems, okay? All right, so the middle is 95%, so that means alpha is 0.05, so alpha over 2 is 0.025. Now, what's our degrees of freedom? Degrees of freedom is n minus 1, which is 17 minus 1, which is 16. Now, you can see Minitab tells us that it's 2.12 and negative 2.12, but we don't trust Minitab, right? Seems like a crafty program. So we're going to get in there and figure it out with StatCrunch and with Excel. So let's do StatCrunch. So I'm going to type in 17 for my degrees of freedom. Oops, sorry, 16 for my degrees of freedom. Sorry, I can't make that any bigger, guys. That's just how big this is going to be. I can make it take up the whole page, but it's, look how tiny the typing still is. Sorry about that. But anyway, it's 0.025. Compute. I don't really need it to be that big. All right, cool. I can take a snapshot. This is 9.2 example for for C, part 1, because we're going to have to do this twice, because we got to find the one on the left and the one on the right. And notice, hey, it matched up what Minitab said, 2.120. So good. All right, now I'm going to make it face to the right, and I'm still going to say 0.025, 0.025. Enter. And there it is. There's the other one. So take a snapshot. Call it again. 9.2, example 4C, part 2. And export. All right. And then we'll do the old... let's see. Go back to your results. Find these two and copy and paste them into into Excel. There's one. You can fiddle around with how big and how small they are. It doesn't really make much difference. Okay, and then I'm just going to leave it like it was. There we go. Had to triple click that back button to get back there, but there it is. There we go. So we've got both of them in there, the left and the right one. So we can see that StatCrunch says, this is part C, I better label it, part C. So according to StatCrunch, the numbers are negative 2.120, negative 2.1199052, and positive 2.1199052. So that's what StatCrunch says they are. Now let's verify it with Excel and with the table. We'll do that in a second. So with Excel, you do the left tail probability, right? So you can type equals t dot inverse 0.025, because it was middle is 95%, comma 16 was our degrees of freedom. There it is. And then the other one is actually just the opposite. So you can type equals negative of that one. You could say negative t dot inverse of what we just did, 0.025, comma 16. That's one option. Or you can say, okay, wait, if it always takes left tail probability, then, hold on, let me do this real quick. If you look down here on this one, if you're talking about the one on the right, what's to the left of that? If that little red area is 0.025, then all of this is 0.975. So you could do it the way we just did it, or you can say, oh, okay, 0.975, like that. Okay. All right, if you're working with old school Excel, let me just type that because that's harder. You have to do both tails. Remember that old school T inverse with no dot in it takes the, oh, yes, I know, takes both tails. So that was 0.05, comma 16. All right, and we better write down these formulas, otherwise we will forget. So I'm going to vacuum this off here and put it out in front. So that way when we copy and paste, we have the instructions for ourselves of how we did this. There we go. And then this one we used again. Either you can say negative of that, or you can say 0.975. Either way, it'll be fine. And you can use either one. Okay. Now if you're doing old school, I'm sorry for you, but you'll have to say what formula you used, which is T inverse 0.05, comma 16. And then the opposite for the other one. I would just do negative T inverse 0.05, comma 16. Yeah, I thought that was going to happen. Yeah, it doesn't like the negative in front. It keeps trying to make it a formula on me, so I'm just going to format the cell as a text. Say okay, and then rewrite it. Copy and paste. There it is. No, stop that. Seriously. You're irritating me. Text. Thank you. Good grief. Excel just thinks it's so smart. It drives me nuts sometimes. It keeps thinking like, I know what you're doing. And it's like, no, you don't. Let me do what I want. Jeez. My issues, I know. All right, so there it is right there. I can copy and paste those in. And we better make a note to ourselves. So the degrees of freedom was what we said. And then we said the middle is 95%. So that means alpha, which is the complement of that middle, which is 0.05 or 5%. So that means alpha over 2, which is in each tail, is equal to 0.025. And that's what we use to find these values. Now, just real quick on the table, you go to the 0.025 column right there. You go down to 16 degrees of freedom, and bing, 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 there it is, 2.120. And then the negative one, you just have to know, oh, this was two-sided, so there's a positive and a negative, and they're the same number. Alrighty, let me delete, delete, delete. And we're finished with this little bit, and we're ready to start the next objective on the next video. So I'll see you here then.